Commander Thalon stood on the bridge of his flagship, staring at the blue planet ahead. Earth. The name meant nothing to him. It was just another world to conquer, another species to bring under Valorian rule. Behind his ship, 3,000 warships waited in formation. The fleet stretched across space like a metal storm, ready to strike. Thalon had conquered 47 star systems in his career. Earth would be number 48. He smiled, watching the planet spin slowly below. The readings showed a primitive civilization. They had radio waves and satellites, nothing more. No defense grids. No battle stations. No fleet to protect them. This would be the easiest victory of his life. "Commander, we are in position," his tactical officer reported. Thalon nodded. "Send the standard message. Give them 1 hour to surrender." Far below, on a small station orbiting Earth, Captain Do-Yun sat in his chair and watched the alien fleet arrive. The station was called Aegis Prime, and it had been his home for 3 years. He took a sip of his coffee and looked at the screen showing 3,000 enemy ships. "They're here," Lieutenant Yunji said from her station. She didn't sound worried. She sounded almost bored. "I can see that," Do-Yun replied. He looked over at Engineer Minho, who was checking the station's systems. "Everything ready?" "Everything's perfect," Minho said, not looking up from his screens. "Just like always." Do-Yun smiled a little. Just like always. They had practiced this moment 1,000 times. Every person on Earth had practiced for this moment. For 200 years, humanity had waited. And now, finally, someone had come on Earth's surface. In a secure command center, Officer Haiwan received the alien message. She read it carefully, then read it again. The message was simple and rude. Surrender now or die. She had expected something like this. Every simulation had predicted it. She typed a response, keeping her words polite and clear. "Unknown vessels, you are entering protected space. State your intentions or withdraw immediately." On the Valorian flagship, Thalon read the human response and laughed. His crew laughed with him. Protected space? These primitives thought they could protect themselves? It was funny. Sad, but funny. "Send them our terms?" Thalon ordered. "They have 1 hour to surrender completely. If they refuse, we will burn their cities and take their planet by force." Haiwan received the new message. She forwarded it immediately to Admiral Jiwoo at Earth Defense Command. Jiwoo was a veteran of 40 years, though no one outside Earth knew that. Earth had been at peace for 2 centuries, at least on the surface. But Admiral Jiwoo had spent those years preparing for war. Jiwoo read the message and then walked to another room. President Taeyong was waiting there, along with 10 other officials. They all knew what was happening above their heads. "They've given us 1 hour," Jiwoo said simply. "Do they know?" asked one official. "No," Jiwoo replied. "They think we're helpless. Just like we planned." President Taeyong looked at the screens showing the alien fleet. 3,000 ships. It was a big number. 2 centuries ago, it would have been an impossible number. But things had changed. "How long will it take?" Taeyong asked. "Seconds," Jiwoo said. "Maybe less." There was silence in the room. Everyone understood what this meant. For 200 years, humanity had hidden. They had watched and learned. They had built weapons in secret and waited for this exact moment. The moment when someone would attack Earth and give humanity a reason to reveal the truth. "Should we try talking again?" Another official asked. Haiwan, who had joined the meeting, shook her head. "I've analyzed their communications. They won't listen. Their culture is based on conquest. They see negotiation as weakness. If we try to talk more, they'll just attack sooner." "Then we wait," President Taeyong decided. "Let them make their choice." Back on Aegis Prime, Do-Yun watched the countdown. 50 minutes left. 45, 40. His crew stayed calm. Yunji was playing a game on her tablet. Minho was eating noodles. They had trained for this their whole lives, but now that it was finally happening, it felt almost normal. "Do you think they'll surrender?" Yunji asked. "No," Do-Yun said. "They think they've already won." "That's sad," Minho said between bites. We gave them a chance. On the Valorian flagship, Fallon watched the countdown too. 30 minutes, 20, 10, no response from Earth, no surrender. No panic, just silence. Commander, they're not responding, his tactical officer said. Then they've chosen death, Fallon replied. He felt a small bit of disappointment. He had hoped they would surrender. Conquest was easier when the enemy gave up, but it didn't matter. Victory was victory, 5 minutes remained. On Earth, in homes and offices and schools, people went about their normal day. Some watched the news, which showed the alien fleet in orbit. The reporters spoke calmly, explaining that the situation was under control. No one panicked. No one ran. Everyone had been told what to do if this day ever came. Stay calm, trust the plan, wait. 3 minutes. On Aegis Prime, Do-Yun finished his coffee and set down the cup. He looked at his crew. Ready? He asked. Ready, Yunji confirmed. Ready, Minho said. 1 minute. Fallon leaned forward in his command chair. His fingers drummed on the armrest. His crew prepared weapons. 3,000 ships powered up their guns. Enough firepower to crack a planet's surface. Enough to burn a civilization to ash. 30 seconds. Admiral Jiwoo sat in her command center, surrounded by screens and officers. Everyone was quiet. Everyone was ready. She thought about the 200 years of preparation. The secret bases, the hidden weapons, the millions of people who had worked and trained and waited for this moment. 10 seconds. Fallon raised his hand. His weapons officer watched him, finger over the firing button. 5 seconds. President Taeyong closed his eyes for a moment, thinking about what was about to happen. Thinking about the choice the Valorians had made. 3 seconds. Do-Yun took a deep breath. 2 seconds. Fallon's hand dropped. 1 second. Fire! Fallon screamed. And 3,000 ships unleashed hell upon Earth. Thousands of plasma torpedoes streaked through space toward Earth. Energy beams, hot enough to melt steel in seconds, followed behind them. Missiles carrying nuclear warheads launched from every Valorian ship. The amount of destruction heading toward the blue planet could destroy 100 cities in minutes. Commander Fallon watched the weapons fly and smiled. Another world conquered. Another easy victory, but the weapons never reached Earth. Every single torpedo, every beam, every missile hit something invisible. The space around Earth lit up with bright flashes of light as the attacks struck a barrier that shouldn't exist. The planetary shield appeared for just a moment, shimmering like the northern lights. Beautiful and impossible. On Aegis Prime, Lieutenant Yunji watched her screen and yawned. Impact confirmed. 0 penetration. Shield holding at 100%. She marked something on her tablet and took another sip of her coffee. Captain Do-Yun shook his head slowly. Send them the final warning. He pressed a button and spoke into the microphone. His voice was calm and clear. This is Captain Do-Yun of Earth Defense. This is your final warning. Withdraw now. You will not get another chance. On the Valorian flagship, Fallon stared at his screens in confusion. The shield shouldn't exist. Earth was primitive. They had radio waves, not planetary shields. This was impossible. What just happened? He demanded. Sir, they have a defensive barrier, his tactical officer said, voice shaking. Our weapons had no effect. I can see that. Fallon shouted. Fire again. All ships, maximum power. Break through that shield. The Valorian fleet opened fire again. This time they didn't hold back. Every weapon, every ship, all at once. The space around Earth became a wall of fire and energy. It was the kind of attack that could destroy a small moon, and still nothing touched Earth. The shield held. Not a single shot got through. In the command center on Earth, Admiral Jiwoo watched the attack continue. She looked at President Taeyong and raised an eyebrow, asking a silent question. Taeyong nodded once. Jiwoo turned to her staff. Authorization granted. Engage Protocol Starfall. Around Earth's solar system, 300 hidden platforms began to wake up. For 200 years they had floated in space, disguised as asteroids and comets. They had waited in silence, invisible and patient. Now finally their purpose had come, the platforms decloaked. One moment there was empty space. The next moment there were 300 weapons platforms, each one the size of a city building. They surrounded the Valorian fleet completely. Thalon saw them appear on his screens and felt his blood turn cold. Where did those come from? "Sir, they were hidden," his tactical officer screamed. "They were there the whole time. We didn't see them. All ships evasive action. Return fire." But it was already too late. The platforms didn't fire normal weapons. They didn't shoot missiles or lasers. Instead, they used something Earth scientists had spent 100 years developing. They called them causality disruptors. The aliens wouldn't understand the science behind them. Most humans didn't fully understand them either. But everyone understood what they did. They erased things from existence. The first platform fired. A beam of twisted spacetime shot out and touched a Valorian battleship. The ship didn't explode. It didn't break apart. It simply stopped existing. One moment it was there, solid and real. The next moment there was nothing. Not even dust. Just empty space where a ship used to be. 5 seconds passed, 800 Valorian ships vanished. No explosions. No debris. No time to scream or send distress signals. They were just gone, erased from reality like mistakes wiped from a chalkboard. Thalon watched his fleet disappear, and couldn't understand what he was seeing. His mind refused to accept it. Ships didn't just vanish. That wasn't how war worked. That wasn't how anything worked. "Report," he screamed. "What's happening?" His tactical officer was crying. "They're gone, sir. The Vanguard is gone. All of them. Just gone. 7 more seconds passed. The platforms fired again. This time they targeted the middle of the Valorian fleet. Another wave of twisted spacetime reached out and touched ship after ship after ship. The Valorian vessels tried to run. They tried to jump to faster-than-light speed and escape. But the human weapons were faster. Much faster. More ships vanished. Hundreds of them. Thousands of Valorian soldiers ceased to exist in the blink of an eye. They never felt pain. They never knew what killed them. One instant they were alive and fighting. The next instant they had never been there at all. 14 seconds total had passed. Only Thalon's flagship remained. Around it, the 300 platforms stopped firing and simply waited. The space that had been filled with 3,000 warships was now empty, silent, peaceful on Aegis Prime. Minho checked his instruments. Total enemy vessels remaining, 1. Time elapsed, 14 seconds. Well, that was quick. 17 seconds if you count the travel time of the final shots. Unji added helpfully. Do-Yun opened the communication channel again. "Valorian flagship, this is Captain Do-Yun. Your fleet has been neutralized. You will not be harmed if you cooperate. Cut your engines and prepare to be boarded." Thalon heard the words but couldn't move. His entire fleet was gone. 3,000 ships. 40,000 soldiers. All vanished in less than 20 seconds. His hands shook. His mind couldn't process what had happened. "Sir?" his tactical officer whispered. "What do we do?" Thalon looked at the human platforms surrounding his ship. 300 of them. Each one could erase him from existence with a single shot. He thought about his empire, his 47 conquered systems, his proud career. All of it meant nothing now. "Cut the engines," he said quietly. "Follow their orders." The Valorian flagship went dark. Human ships approached, small and fast. Teams of soldiers in advanced armor boarded the alien vessel. They were polite but firm. They took the Valorian crew into custody without violence. No one resisted. No one had the will to resist anymore, on Earth. In cities and towns all over the planet, people watched the news and celebrated. Children cheered. Adults cried with relief. For 200 years they had feared this day. They had prepared and trained and built weapons in secret, always worried that the aliens would come before they were ready. But they had been ready. More than ready. In the command center, President Taeyong sat down heavily in his chair. It's over? It's over, Admiral Jiwoo confirmed. Total casualties, 0 on our side. All enemy vessels neutralized. One flagship captured for intelligence gathering. 17 seconds, Taeyong said softly. 200 years of preparation. 17 seconds of combat. Jiwoo nodded. That was the plan. Hit so hard and so fast that they never have a chance to hurt us. Make sure everyone in the galaxy knows what happens when you attack Earth. Officer Haiwan was already composing messages. She would send them to every known alien civilization. The message would be simple. Earth is not helpless. Earth is not weak. Anyone who attacks Earth will face the same fate as the Valorians. On Aegis Prime, Do-yeon and his crew began their post-battle reports. The station had suffered 0 damage. The shield had never dropped below 100%. All weapons platforms were functioning normally. It had been a perfect defensive operation. Do you think more will come? Eunji asked. Maybe, Do-yeon said. But now they'll know what they're facing. They'll think twice. Minho cleaned up his noodle bowl. I almost feel bad for them. They had no idea what they were walking into. We gave them a chance, Do-yeon reminded him. We warned them twice. They chose to attack. Far above Earth, Commander Thalen sat in a human cell. The room was clean and bright. No one had hurt him. The humans had been professional, even kind. That somehow made it worse. They had destroyed his fleet so easily that they didn't even feel the need to be cruel to their prisoners. A young human woman entered the cell. She smiled at him. Hello, Commander Thalen. My name is Salmon. I'm here to ask you some questions. Don't worry, we won't hurt you. We just want to understand your empire better. Thalen looked at her and felt the weight of what had happened settle on his shoulders. His fleet was gone. His career was over. His empire's greatest military force had been erased in 17 seconds by a species they thought was primitive. What are you? He whispered. Summon's smile faded a little. We're human. And we've been waiting for someone like you for a very long time. Commander Thalen woke up in a room he didn't recognize. The walls were white and clean. The bed beneath him was soft. For a moment he thought maybe it had all been a terrible dream. His fleet was still there. Earth was still just a primitive planet waiting to be conquered. Then he saw the door open and remembered. It wasn't a dream. It was real. All of it was real. The young human woman named Soman entered carrying a datapad. She wore simple clothes and had kind eyes. She sat down in a chair across from him and smiled. Good morning, Commander. Did you sleep well? Thalen didn't answer. He just stared at her. Soman didn't seem bothered by his silence. You've been unconscious for about 6 hours. The medical team wanted to make sure you weren't injured during the transport. You're perfectly healthy, by the way. Where am I? Thalen finally asked. His voice was rough. You're in a secure facility on Earth. Don't worry, you're safe here. We're not going to hurt you. My crew? They're all safe too. We've separated. The officers for questioning, but everyone is being treated well. Thalen looked down at his hands. They were shaking. My fleet? Summon's smile faded. Your fleet is gone, Commander. I'm sorry. How? The word came out as a whisper. How did you do it? Before Soman could answer, another person entered the room. Officer Haiwan walked in with her own datapad and took a seat next to Soman. She was older, more serious. She studied Thalen with careful eyes. Commander Thalen, Haiwan said. My name is Haiwan. I'm with Earth's diplomatic corps. I'm here to show you something. She tapped her datapad and a screen appeared on the wall. It showed the battle, but slowed down. Thalen watched his fleet fire on Earth. He watched the shield appear. He watched the human platforms decloak. Then he watched his ships vanish, one by one, erased from existence. The screen showed the timing. 5 seconds, 7 seconds. 14 seconds total. 17 including weapon travel time. Thalen felt sick. Watching it again made it worse somehow. The first time, in the chaos of battle, his mind couldn't fully understand what was happening. Now, seeing it slowly and clearly, he understood perfectly. His empire's greatest fleet had been wiped out in less than 20 seconds. What kind of weapons are those? He asked. That's classified, Haiwan said simply. What you need to understand is that we've had them for a long time. We've had this shield for a long time, too. We've been ready for this day for 200 years. That's impossible. Your planet is primitive. We detected your technology level, radio waves. Simple satellites, nothing more. Soman leaned forward. We wanted you to think that. Every signal you detected was something we wanted you to detect. We've been broadcasting fake technology levels for 2 centuries. Why? Fallon demanded. Why hide? Haiwan stood up and began to pace. 200 years ago, humanity achieved faster-than-light travel. We were so excited. We thought we'd explore the galaxy and meet friendly neighbors. Do you know what we found instead? Fallon said nothing. We found empires, dozens of them. All of them aggressive. All of them conquering weaker species. We watched. The Valorian Empire destroy 3 civilizations in 5 years. We watched the Kreeth Dominion enslave entire planets. We saw what happened to species who revealed themselves before they were ready. So you hid, Fallon said. We went dark, Haiwan corrected. We pulled back every ship. We stopped all transmissions except for basic radio waves. We made ourselves look weak and primitive. And then we watched. We studied every empire in this region. We learned your weapons, your tactics, your cultures. We prepared. Soman pulled up more images on the screen. We built 300 weapon platforms. We developed a planetary shield. We created new types of weapons that the galaxy has never seen. And we waited for someone to test us. Congratulations, Fallon said bitterly. You passed your test. Actually, Haiwan said, you failed yours? The door opened again. Captain Do-Yun walked in, still wearing his uniform from Aegis Prime. He looked tired but alert. He nodded to Haiwan and Soman, then turned his attention to Fallon. Commander Fallon, I'm Captain Do-Yun. We spoke briefly during the battle. You gave the warning, Fallon remembered. I gave 2 warnings. You ignored both. Do-Yun pulled up a chair and sat down. Let me ask you something. Why did you attack Earth? Because we could, Fallon answered honestly. Because your planet looked weak. Because conquest is what we do. And that's the problem, Do-Yun said quietly. Your entire civilization is based on the idea that might makes right. The strong conquer the weak. You never stop to think if you should. You only think about if you can. That's how the galaxy works, Fallon argued. Every species knows this. The strong survive, the weak submit or die. Not anymore, Haiwan said firmly. Earth is changing that equation. Fallon laughed, but there was no humor in it. You think one battle changes everything? My empire has 10,000 more ships. Other empires have even more. You can't fight everyone. We don't want to fight anyone, Soman said gently. That's the whole point. We built these weapons so we'd never have to use them. We wanted to be so strong that no one would dare attack us. But someone had to test you eventually, Fallon realized. Yes, Do-Yun agreed. We knew someone would. We hoped it wouldn't come to this, but we were ready. And now the galaxy knows what happens when Earth is attacked. Haiwan tapped her datapad again. We've already sent messages to every known civilization. Full footage of the battle. Clear warnings that Earth is off limits. Most importantly, we've made it clear that any retaliation will result in the same outcome. You're threatening the entire galaxy? Fallon asked. We're protecting ourselves, Haiwan corrected. There's a difference. Fallon sat in silence for a long moment. He thought about his empire. He thought about Empress Kalira and the Imperial court. They would want revenge. They would see this defeat as an insult that must be answered. My empire won't accept this, he said. They'll send more ships, we know, Do-Yun said, and we'll be ready. But we're hoping they'll make a smarter choice. What choice is that? Leave Earth alone. Except that some species can't be conquered. Move on, Do-Yun leaned back in his chair. Commander, do you know how many fleets we've destroyed before yours? Fallon thought about it. Based on your confidence, I'd guess many. 0, Do-Yun said. You're the first. We've been waiting 200 years, and you're the first ones to actually attack us? That's why we gave you warnings. That's why we tried to give you a chance to leave peacefully. The weight of those words settled on Thalen. He had been the first. His fleet had been the test case. His 40,000 soldiers had died to prove that Earth was not helpless. What happens to me now? He asked quietly. Soman answered. We're going to keep questioning you for a few more days. We want to understand your empire better. After that, we'll return you to Valorian space. You're letting me go? Yes, HFY said. We want you to deliver a message to your Empress. Earth is off limits. Any attempt at retaliation will end the same way. We don't want war with the Valorian Empire, but we won't hesitate to defend ourselves. Thalen looked at the three humans in the room. They were so calm, so confident. They had destroyed 3,000 ships and didn't seem proud or excited about it. They seemed almost sad, like the battle had been a necessary task rather than a victory to celebrate. Do you really think your message will stop them? He asked. Honestly, we don't know, Do-Yun admitted. But we have to try. We didn't build these weapons because we love fighting. We built them because we love peace. We want a galaxy where species can exist without fear of conquest. That's a nice dream, Thalen said. But it's just a dream. Maybe, Soman said with a small smile. But 200 years ago, hiding from the entire galaxy while we built superweapons was also just a dream. And we made that real. HFY stood up. Get some rest, Commander. We'll talk more tomorrow. In the meantime, think about what you want to tell your Empress. Think about whether your empire really wants to test Earth's defenses again. The three humans left the room. Thalen sat alone in the clean white cell. He thought about 17 seconds. He thought about 3,000 ships vanishing like they had never existed. He thought about the human woman named Somen, who smiled while talking about weapons that could erase reality, and he wondered if maybe, just maybe, the galaxy was about to change forever. 3 weeks after the battle, Commander Thalen stood in the throne room of Empress Kalira. He had been returned to Valorian space in a small, human ship that appeared and disappeared without ever being detected by their sensors. The humans had been true to their word. He was unharmed, healthy, and free, but he wished he was still a prisoner. At least then he wouldn't have to face what came next. The throne room was filled with Imperial officers and advisors. Hundreds of eyes watched him. Hundreds of faces showed anger and disbelief. He had returned home alone. 3,000 ships had followed him to Earth. Only he came back. Empress Kalira sat on her throne, her face carved from stone. She was young for an empress, only 50 cycles old, but she had ruled with an iron fist since taking power. She did not tolerate failure. She did not accept defeat. Speak, she commanded. Thalen told them everything. The approach to Earth, the warnings they ignored, the shield that appeared, the platforms that decloaked, the 17 seconds that erased the fleet. He spoke clearly and truthfully, knowing that lies would only make things worse. When he finished, the throne room was silent. Then someone laughed. Admiral Koraf, the Empress's military advisor, stepped forward. This is a joke. A pathetic excuse for failure. 3,000 ships don't vanish in 17 seconds. I saw it happen, Thalen said quietly. You're a coward, Koraf spat. You ran away and invented this story to hide your shame. The humans sent proof, Thalen said. He pulled out a data crystal the humans had given him. Full recordings. Sensor data, everything. The crystal was inserted into the throne room systems. The entire court watched the battle unfold. They saw the Valorian fleet fire. They saw the shield hold. They saw the platforms appear. They saw the ships vanish one by one, erased from existence in seconds. The laughter stopped. The room fell silent again. Everyone stared at the screens, trying to understand what they had just witnessed. This is some kind of trick, Koraf said, but his voice was uncertain now. Special effects deception? It's real, Thalen said. He pulled out another crystal. The humans also sent this. A message for you, Empress? The message played. A human woman appeared on the screen. Officer HFY looked directly at the camera and spoke in perfect Valorian language. Empress Kalira, I am HFY of Earth, Your fleet attacked our world without provocation. We defended ourselves. We have no desire for war with the Valorian Empire, but we will not tolerate aggression. Earth is off limits. This is your only warning." The message ended. Empress Kalira stared at the empty screen for a long time. Finally she spoke. "Opinions." Admiral Korath recovered first. "We must respond with force. Send 10,000 ships. 20,000. Show these humans that the Valorian Empire does not accept defeat." Other voices joined in. Some agreed with Korath. Others urged caution. The debate grew heated. Talon stood silently, waiting. He had delivered his message. Now it was up to others to decide the Empire's fate. While the Valorian Empire argued with itself, news of the battle spread across the galaxy. Every major civilization heard about it. Some dismissed it as rumor. Others investigated and found it was true. Humanity had revealed itself, and they had done it in the most dramatic way possible. The Council of Species convened an emergency session. 12 major civilizations sent representatives to the neutral station where the council met. It was the first time in 50 years that all 12 had gathered at once. Ambassador Ji-hoon represented Earth. It was humanity's first official appearance at the council, and every eye in the chamber watched him as he entered. He was young for an ambassador, only 35 years old, but he walked with quiet confidence. The Kreeth Dominion representative, a large reptilian creature named Thrakus, spoke first. "So the rumors are true. Earth has been hiding from us." "Not hiding," Ji-hoon corrected politely. "Preparing. Preparing to attack us." Thrakus accused. "Preparing to defend ourselves," Ji-hoon said calmly. "Earth was attacked first. We responded to aggression, nothing more." "You destroyed 3,000 ships in 17 seconds, another representative said. The Lumine delegate, Arila, spoke with a musical voice. Her species was peaceful and had suffered under Kreeth occupation before. That level of power is frightening. "It's meant to be," Ji-hoon admitted. "We want potential aggressors to be frightened. We want them to think very carefully before attacking Earth." "So you threaten us all?" Thrakus demanded. "We threaten no one," Ji-hoon said. "We simply defend ourselves. If you don't attack Earth, you have nothing to fear from us." "Prove it," Thrakus challenged. "These reports could be exaggerated? Show us these weapons you claim to have." Ji-hoon considered for a moment, then nodded. "Very well. We'll provide a demonstration." A week later, every member of the Council of Species gathered near a derelict moon. The moon was scheduled to be destroyed anyway for mining purposes, so it made a perfect target. A single human ship waited in orbit. It was small, barely bigger than a shuttle. The ship was named Soul's Pride, and it was commanded by Captain Yuna. Yuna was younger than Ji-hoon, only 28, but she had trained her whole life for moments like this. She sat in her command chair and opened a communication channel to the Council observers. "This is Captain Yuna of Earth Defense. Beginning demonstration now." She activated the ship's primary weapon, a quantum cascade projector, one of humanity's newer designs. The weapon fired and a beam of shimmering energy touched the moon's surface. The moon didn't explode. That would have been too simple, too normal. Instead, it began to fall apart at the molecular level. Rock and metal broke down into atoms. The atoms separated and dispersed. In 30 seconds, a moon that had existed for billions of years became nothing but harmless dust floating in space. The council chamber, filled with observers watching the feed, fell absolutely silent. Thrakus the Kreeth was the first to speak. "That's impossible." "It's science," Ji-hoon said simply. "Earth has had 200 years to develop new technologies while you were busy conquering other species. How many of these weapons do you have?" Arila asked quietly. "Enough," Ji-hoon answered. He stood and addressed the entire council. "Earth seeks peaceful coexistence with all species. We want to trade, to share knowledge, to cooperate, but we will defend ourselves absolutely. Anyone who attacks Earth will face the same fate as the Valorians. This is not a threat. It's simply a fact. And if we attack you together?" Thrakus challenged. All of us united? Then you would all die together, Jihun said without emotion. But why would you? What does Earth have that's worth that kind of war? We're not trying to conquer anyone. We're not demanding territory or tribute. We just want to be left alone. Another representative spoke up. Councillor Vex of the Solarian Union. What about protection? Would Earth defend other species from aggression? Ji-hoon paused. This was a question Earth's government had debated for months. That depends. We're not going to be the galaxy's police force. But we're open to discussing defensive alliances with peaceful species. Arila, the Luminae delegate, leaned forward. My people have suffered under Kreeth occupation for 20 years. Would Earth help us? Perhaps, Ji-hoon said carefully. If your people formally request protection, Earth will consider it. Thrakus stood up angrily. This is manipulation. You destroy one fleet and suddenly think you can reshape the galaxy. We didn't start this, Ji-hoon reminded him. The Valorians attacked us. We defended ourselves. Now we're trying to prevent future attacks through deterrence. That's all. The council session ended without any formal decisions, but the galaxy had changed. Some species, like the peaceful Luminae, immediately began diplomatic outreach to Earth. They wanted friendship and protection. Others, like the Kreeth Dominion, began secret military preparations. They were convinced that with enough numbers they could overwhelm human defenses. The Valorian Empire remained silent. For 3 months, no word came from Empress Kalira. Ambassador Ji-hoon sent messages but received no reply. Earth's intelligence services reported increased military activity in Valorian space, but no movement toward Earth. Then, suddenly, the Valorians withdrew. Every occupied world in their empire received the same message. Valorian forces were pulling back to their home territory. They were abandoning 47 conquered systems. The empire that had spent centuries expanding was now contracting. News reached Admiral Jiwo on Earth. She read the report and showed it to President Taeyong. They're retreating, Taeyong said with surprise. They're afraid, Jiwoo corrected. They know they can't beat us, so they're pulling back to defend their core worlds. That's good, isn't it? Maybe, Jiwoo said. Or maybe they're just regrouping. Time will tell. On Aegis Prime, Captain Do-yeon watched the abandoned Valorian territories and wondered what would happen next. The galaxy was changing. Earth had revealed itself. Some species were reaching out in friendship. Others were preparing for war. And humanity was in the middle of it all, whether they wanted to be or not. Lieutenant Yoonji looked up from her station. Do you think it's over? The first battle is over, Do-yeon said. But something tells me this is just the beginning. 1 year had passed since the battle that changed everything. Admiral Do-yeon stood on the bridge of the New Horizons, Earth's first diplomatic cruiser. The ship was beautiful, built for peace rather than war, though it carried enough defensive weapons to protect itself if needed. Behind the New Horizons, 4 escort ships followed in formation. They were visiting the Luminae homeworld, the third stop on a diplomatic tour. Do-yeon had been promoted from captain to admiral and given command of Earth's diplomatic fleet. It was strange going from defending Earth on Aegis Prime to traveling the galaxy making friends, but he was proud of the work. Lieutenant Yoonji served as his tactical officer. Just like on Aegis Prime, she watched the peaceful blue planet ahead and smiled. It's pretty, reminds me of Earth. Most life-bearing planets look similar, Do-yeon said. Water, continents, clouds. The basics don't change much. Below them, the Luminae people prepared a celebration. After 20 years under Kreeth occupation, they had been freed 6 months ago when Earth established a defense treaty with them. The Kreeth had withdrawn rather than fight humanity. Now the Luminae were rebuilding, and they were grateful, but not everyone was happy with Earth's growing influence. Back on Earth, in a secure intelligence facility, Officer Bora studied reports on her screen. She had been promoted to intelligence officer after the battle and spent her days analyzing threats. What she was seeing now worried her deeply. 6 minor alien species had gone completely silent over the past 3 months. No communications, No transmissions, nothing. It was as if they had simply vanished. Bora pulled up star maps and looked at the pattern. All 6 species had territories near Kreeth space. Ji picked up her communicator and called Minho. He was now Director of Defense. Engineering, responsible for maintaining Earth's weapon systems. They had become close friends over the past year. Minho, I need you to look at something. Send it over, Minho said. He studied the data she transmitted. 6 species. All near Kreeth territory, all silent. What do you think it means? Nothing good, Minho said grimly. I'll alert Admiral Jiwoo. At Earth Defense Command, Admiral Jiwoo listened to Bora's report with growing concern. She had expected something like this. The Kreeth Dominion had been too quiet since the demonstration. Now it seemed they were making their move. Send reconnaissance drones to those systems, Jiwoo ordered. Stealth mode, I want to know what's happening there. The drones returned 3 days later with disturbing footage. All 6 species had been conquered by the Kreeth. Their planets were occupied. Their people were enslaved. The Kreeth had been moving quietly, taking over weak species while Earth was busy with diplomatic missions. President Taeyong called an emergency meeting. The council room filled with Earth's top officials. Ambassador Ji-hoon attended via video link from the Council of Species station. The Kreeth are expanding again, Taeyong said. They've conquered 6 species in 3 months. What do we do? We should destroy their military capability, one general suggested. Show them we won't tolerate aggression. That would make us look like tyrants, Officer Haiwan argued. We said we only defend ourselves. If we attack the Kreeth for conquering others, we become the very thing we claimed we're not. So we do nothing? The general demanded. We let them keep conquering? Ji-hoon spoke from the screen. There's another option. We could offer protection to those species. Create a defensive alliance. Make it clear that any attack on our allies is an attack on Earth. That's a lot of responsibility, Taeyong said. We'd be promising to defend multiple species across the galaxy. We have the capability, Admiral Jiwoo said. The question is whether we have the will. The debate continued for hours. Finally, Taeyong made his decision. We offer protection. We create a defensive alliance. But we make it completely voluntary. Any species that wants Earth's protection can request it. We won't force it on anyone. What do we call this alliance? Haiwan asked. The Terran Accord, Ji-hoon suggested. Earth guarantees protection, but each member keeps their sovereignty. We don't rule them, we just defend them. The decision was made. Ambassador Ji-hoon presented the proposal to the Council of Species. The response was mixed. The peaceful species welcomed it. The aggressive empires, especially the Kreeth, were furious. Thrakis, the Kreeth representative, stood up in the council chamber and pointed at Ji-hoon. This is imperialism disguised as protection. You're trying to control the galaxy. We're offering protection, not control, Ji-hoon said calmly. Any species can refuse. Any member can leave the Terran Accord whenever they want. We're not building an empire. You're building something worse, Thrakis hissed. A cage, a prison where everyone is afraid to act because Earth is watching. If by act you mean conquer other species, then yes, we're watching. The 6 species that have been conquered by the Kreeth couldn't join the Terran Accord because they were no longer free. But 12 other species signed up immediately. 12 species who feared they might be next. Earth now had formal allies spread across the galaxy. Admiral Do-yeon received new orders. Take the New Horizons and its escort fleet to the Kreeth border. Position Earth's ships between the Kreeth Dominion and the conquered worlds. Don't attack, but don't back down either. The New Horizons arrived at the border 2 weeks later. Captain Yuna and the Soul's Pride joined them, along with 20 other human ships. They formed a defensive line in space, facing the Kreeth military fleet on the other side. Do-yeon opened a communication channel. This is Admiral Do-yeon of Earth Defense. The 6 species recently conquered by the Kreeth Dominion are now under Earth's protection. Withdraw your forces or face consequences. The Kreeth commander, General Vorthak, responded with rage. You have no right. Those worlds are ours by right of conquest. They were never yours, Do-yeon said. You took them by force. We're giving them back. We have 5,000 ships, Vorthek threatened. You have 20. We only need one, Do-Yun replied. Ask the Valorians what happened with 3,000. For 48 hours, the two fleets stared at each other across empty space. Neither side moved, neither side fired. On Earth, billions of people watched the news and worried. War seemed certain. On the New Horizons, Yunji monitored the Kreeth ships. They're powering weapons, getting ready to fire. Hold position, Do-Yun ordered. Don't shoot first, but be ready. Minho had deployed hidden weapon platforms throughout the sector, just like at Earth. If the Kreeth attacked, they would face the same fate as the Valorians. But Do-Yun hoped it wouldn't come to that. He hoped the Kreeth would remember what happened to the last fleet that tested humanity. Captain Yuna, commanding the Soul's Pride, kept her finger over the weapon controls. She didn't want to fire. None of them wanted to fire. But they would if they had to. On the Kreeth flagship, General Vorthak faced an impossible choice. He could attack and possibly defeat the small human fleet. But Earth would send more ships, more weapons, and eventually the Kreeth Dominion would suffer the same fate as the Valorians, or he could withdraw, admit defeat without fighting. Except that Earth now controlled this region of space. After 48 hours, the Kreeth fleet turned and left. No shots were fired, no ships were destroyed. They simply withdrew, leaving the conquered worlds behind. Do-Yun watched them go and let out a breath he didn't know he was holding. Stand down, prepare landing teams. Those planets need help. The 6 freed species celebrated as Earth forces arrived. The Kreeth occupiers had left peacefully, taking their weapons but leaving the populations intact. All 6 species immediately joined the Terran Accord. Earth had gained 6 more allies without firing a single shot. 6 months later, Ambassador Ji-hoon stood before the Council of Species again. The Terran Accord now had 18 member species. Earth had established trade routes, shared non-military technology, and provided protection. The galaxy was changing. Some of you fear Earth's power, Ji-hoon said to the Council. You think we're building an empire. But look at what we've actually done. We've freed 6 species from occupation. We've established fair trade agreements. We've shared medical technology and agricultural techniques. We've used our strength to protect, not to conquer. Arila, the Lumine delegate, stood up. I speak for my people when I say that Earth has been a blessing. 20 years under Kreeth rule nearly destroyed us. 6 months with Earth's protection has given us hope again. Other species agreed. The representatives of the Terran Accord spoke one by one, praising Earth's leadership and fairness. But Thrakis and the other aggressive empires remained silent and angry after the council session. Ji-hoon met privately with Thrakis. You're afraid, Ji-hoon said simply. I fear nothing, Thrakis replied. You fear that Earth is changing the galaxy. You fear that conquest is becoming obsolete. You fear that your empire's entire way of life is ending? Thrakis said nothing, which was answer enough. It doesn't have to be this way, Ji-hoon continued. The Kreeth Dominion could join the Terran Accord. You could protect species instead of conquering them. You could be part of the solution. Never, Thrakis said. The Kreeth do not follow. We lead, then lead toward peace, Ji-hoon suggested. That takes more courage than leading toward war. Thrakis left without another word. Ji-hoon watched him go and wondered if the Kreeth would ever change. Some species adapted. Others refused.